We're going to take Charles in Texas. Hey, Charles, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on? Amos 9:15 says, "And I will plant them upon their land, and they shall no more be pulled up out of their land, which I have given them, saith the Lord thy God." Ezekiel 38:16 says, "And
So
thou shalt come up against my people of Israel."
Don't make me mute you already. Don't make me. All right, you're muted.
So it's probably a good idea not to just immediately say, "Hi, let me read you this Bible verse. This Bible verse says this Bible verse says that, this Bible verse says," because we don't give a shit what the Bible says in the first place. And we're not wanting people to just call in to preach. So if you have a point or a question or evidence or an argument, cool, present that. We're waiting.
And I'm unmuting you now.
Traditional guardians of the Vatican Treasury come.
Oh, you're not listening to us at all, are you? Are you listening at all, Charles?
Charles?
You're going to be dropped in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.
Roman Catholic Church.
Now, I want to say this beforehand, because as the the host and producer of this show, I want to applaud our call screeners. I know that was not your fault. And I'm pretty sure that our call screeners give instructions to people. Maybe we should include, "Hi, when the hosts take your call, 1, don't ask if they can hear you. 2, introduce yourself and state whatever your question or thing is, and try to make sure that there's room for interaction with the host, or you're going to wind up muted and dropped." It's a shame that one of only a couple of theists who bothered to call in today would not take a breath, and even when muted and put on hold, would not listen. And all we wanted. So the question here is, and I Ezekiel 38:16 from the should I read from the NIV since that's copyrighted? Maybe I should go with the New King James. I'll pull these up, because despite the fact that that caller did absolutely nothing useful, I would like to give their thoughts a moment. And so they had 2 specific verses, and I'm going to read and address these. And since they were willing to talk without letting us talk, I think we should be able to talk without letting them talk.
Pretty much.
So Ezekiel 38:16 says, "You will come up against my people Israel like a cloud to cover the land. It will be in the later days that I will bring you against my land, so that the nations may know me, and I am hallowed in you, O Gog, before their eyes." That is an interpretation of essentially the reestablishment of Israel. And specifically in Amos 9, it's like 15. Yeah, "I will plant them in their land." So 13 through 15 is talking about Israel. "I will bring back the captives my people Israel. They shall build waste cities and inhabit them." And in verse 15, it says, "I will plant them in their land, and no longer shall they be pulled up from the land I have given them." So that is a prophecy that can, if it's viewed as a prophecy, it may or may not count as a prophecy. That is a prophecy that can never, ever, ever be fulfilled, because it says that he will plant them in that land, and no longer shall they be pulled up from the land I have given them. There's no evidence that God has ever given Israel any land, and there's no evidence of a land which Israel hasn't been uprooted from forever. You would have to wait forever. If you want a prophecy, it needs to be fulfilled by a single set of circumstances that isn't prone to interpretation and that has an actual time frame. You can't just say, "Eventually the United States is going to have a woman president. Ta-da, look at me, I'm a genius prophet from God." And yeah. you also couldn't make that's a prophecy that when it comes through, it's like, oh, no big deal. But you could also say the United States will never have an Asian woman as president. And if it doesn't happen in 100 years, 200 years, 500 years, whatever, maybe the United States dissolves is the only way that becomes true, in which case the United States has no more. Yeah, you can't have open-ended prophecies. That's unimpressive.
Yeah, very unimpressive. And then it's the whole question of, well, why do we care until you can prove God exists? Because in order to prove that A caused B, you need to prove that A exists. So, yeah. And they never seem to want to talk about proving that first before we care about what the book.
Well, the other thing about the restoration of Israel, if you have a prophecy and a nation or several nations are actively working to make that prophecy come true, it's not like a prophecy. It's like saying, "Hey, I predict that." Well, I have my mind is blanking on what to actually come up with, but like the example that I used before, if I order a medium rare steak and the waiter brings it to me, he's not fulfilling prophecy, and I didn't make a prediction that was prophetic. I get it. There are people who are like, look, we established Israel and it hasn't been moved. Yes. In the last 60 years, that's kind of held, but there's constant struggle and strife in that area as well. But
Right.
It doesn't surprise me that, the Jews have a nation? Congrats. As long as Jews and Christians around the world were working towards it.
Yeah, exactly. And they got a lot of help from the Allies after World War II. All right.
I predict that God will cure me of my cancer right after I'm done with this last round of chemotherapy.